Hi, everyone. Today I'm sitting down with my friend Olivia Kusio, the first and founding product designer at GPTZero, one of the fastest growing AI companies of the last few years and a proud Uncorked portfolio company. I'm just a little biased, but GPTZero is the most precise and reliable AI text detector and writing tool. Olivia and I first met over 7 years ago in college on a train ride back to Princeton, and it's been very fun watching her journey up close. Olivia joined the team when it was just 4 people, before GPT-Zero became the go-to tool for detecting, understanding, and improving AI-generated text, now used by millions of people and generating over 20 million in revenue in under 3 years. Olivia, welcome to the pod.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
Well, I gave a little bit of background, but it's always better to hear it from the source. So, how would you describe what GPT-Zero does and what your role looks like today?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, GPTZero is an AI detection service. So we're able to detect whether text was written by a human or by AI, or whether it's a mix of the two by comparing text with a database of AI, human, and mixed documents. But we're also focused on quality of information. So we do other types of scans like writing feedback, plagiarism, checking citations, and we also have a side of reviewing documents. So yeah, it started with AI detection, but it's expanding.
Awesome. And what does it mean to be a product designer there?
It's changed a lot over the years. I think when it started, the role was more ambiguous. Like anything that was visual was on my plate. So that included like redesigning the landing page, to creating a Chrome extension, to creating a dashboard, to designing marketing materials. Yeah, so I didn't really limit myself to any type of design. I also was doing user research, but now it's definitely more like designing within a system and designing more detailed and mature products.
And take me back to a couple years ago. How did you and Edward initially meet? And then how did he successfully convince you to join the team when it was just 4 people?
So we initially met because I was on crutches. So I had an ACL surgery and I had to move out of my friends' dorms, like with my friends, and into this ground floor apartment. And Edward happened to be living on that floor. And then we also happened to have a class together where he would always open the door for me when I would like walk.
I didn't know this.
It's
How
so cute.
cute.
Yeah, yeah. It was like I was like, what a kind person. And yeah, that's how we became friends. Then we ended up working together on this nonprofit civic tech product called Representable. And then when he started GPT Zero, he called me up and he was like, hey, like we need a designer for we don't know how long, but like we have a project that we want to work on. And I was also working at a company in London at the time, but it was pretty chill. So I thought, this is such a cool project. And everyone was talking about AI. And then Edward invented AI detection. So it was this new technology that, I got to shape how people interacted with it. And I thought that was so cool. So I just like naturally ended up spending way more time on GPT Zero than my other job. We decided that it was a good fit. And then I switched to full time.
Nice. And so, what did GPT-Zero look like when you first joined? What was the vibe?
Yeah, when I first joined was a Google Meets or maybe even a Zoom call of like 4 people. And we were so focused on just developing this Chrome extension. So it just felt like we were like a school group project and just like sitting down and it's late already and we just have to finish it. And it was so much fun and also such like a quick push. Like we created the whole Chrome extension in 2 weeks. Yeah. And so that's how it started. I think we kept that as a core value of like the collaboration should feel like a group project where, everyone can contribute ideas. Everyone's like focused on the product getting pushed out as soon as possible. And it's not about like, oh, you're good at this or you made a mistake. It's
Hmm.
more about like the focus is on what we're creating together.
Hmm.
Appreciate
Yeah.
people's contributions.
So was the Chrome extension the first design project that you worked on?
Yeah, it was the Chrome extension, and which
Yeah.
was really cool because, like, people were able to scan documents, articles anywhere on the web. So it went from
Mhm.
like a website to I can bring this into my LMS, I can bring this into Google Docs. It felt like it already had a big impact, and the users that we had access to was already like 10,000, I think, just within the first few weeks. So the scale was quite big.
Mhm. And you mentioned it was 2-week project, and in general, I know GPT-Zero ships super quickly. And so how do you decide what good enough design looks like?
Yeah, it's a lot of intuition and teamwork, but then also trying to bring in the user as much as possible to determine like what's actually usable or not. Like the V1, honestly, I remember being almost embarrassed as to the quality of the design work because it was, not up to my standards, but it worked. And it was still able to scale. It still had a high impact on users. And so the greatest ROI at that point was to, release that version that, has mistakes, breaks, but then we fix them and we keep going. And so to let go of your perfectionism, which I'm actually not a perfectionist myself. It does work with how I function, but if you can let go of your perfectionism and just keep improving it and know that a lot of your work will be replaced. Like working at GPT GPT-Zero was never, I'm going to design this beautiful thing that will remain, forever or even for like a year or two. You create and then you let go of it and you know that it's going to be replaced with something. So it's more
Mhm.
like growing an organism that can scale and that like provides value for the user and a positive emotional experience rather than creating something that's like really clean right off the bat. Although I do feel like this could be changing with the new AI tools because it is so much faster to iterate on design, and with vibe coding designers and engineers can participate even more easily in design. So I could see like much cleaner products being a thing for V1 versions of a product.
Since you mentioned vibe coding, what have you played around with so far, and where do you think the gaps still are?
Yeah, I remember the first time I used Lovable, I was completely shocked. So I tried Lovable first. We as a team moved to like prototyping with Figma Make. And then I've played around with Claude and Gemini 3. Figma Make is like most connected with your design system. So I think right now it's like most visually accurate, and I've started to prefer it over Lovable. What we found as a team is that like those prototyping tools are really great for getting an idea across. Like you have a product idea or you want to change something within the product. You can create a quick prototype, you can test it out with users. We even had like an amazing workshop where we invited in teachers to participate in a design challenge where we were creating products for them right then and there. And
Mhm.
that was really awesome because it's something that you can try out as a user. However, we experimented with bringing it in to the design and engineering process as this like pre-production space where we could experiment with new things and experiment with adapting AI models and writing in new prompts. It was decently effective, but it does take so much work to move that into production. So there is a little bit of a conversation of like, is it worth developing this space and like maintaining it in order to then move it into production? Or is it better just to be like coding out a production right tweaking that?
Shifting gears to talk a little bit more about some of the design principles, since GPT-Zero's core ethos revolves around building trust, how do you think about designing interfaces that communicate credibility and transparency in AI?
Yeah, I think consistency across the website was really big for us for this, bringing in our design system, which our designer Robert did when he joined. Those kind of like changes like design system, designing for accessibility, having like clean responsiveness. I think those are the kind of things that make you feel, okay, this is a legitimate website. But then also bringing in some visual elements from AI tools that people already trust. So I remember when we were first creating the landing page, we wanted it to be a mixture of trustworthy education product. So we looked for inspiration from like more education tech tools, but then we didn't want to limit ourselves just to this. So also bringing in some visual elements from Apple or ChatGPT or these kind of products that like feel very mature definitely helps. I think, yeah, also limiting the amount of bugs that you have really helps with trust because it makes the tool feel like, okay, I can put my data into this and, they're not going to accidentally send it somewhere. I think those are the biggest things that we do to communicate trust. I think there's also potentially more work to be done to communicate data privacy because it's something that we started to do. You can find that on our landing page now, like before you hit the scan button, as your privacy is guaranteed.
Makes sense. And given that a large part of the user base is teachers and students, what have you noticed about how the kids these days are actually using AI?
Yeah, so it definitely varies. Like, I would say in the beginning, there was more students that were just taking ChatGPT text and then like editing out the AI sentences and then sending it over. But I've actually seen like a really positive change in many students, not all of them. They are like, "I'm proud of the fact that these are my own thoughts, and I want my teacher to be communicating with me and not an AI and communicating with my ideas." So that's really exciting, but there is still a lot of students that are over relying on AI, and it starts as early as, like, 4th grade. Like, I've heard my
Dang.
teacher say that all my 4th graders are lying to me about
Oof.
using AI, but then they're writing these, like, insane essays using it. I think there's, like, a few things going on, but one of them is the fact that people are really stressed out by the blank page, and they're not getting as challenged to combat that as the ChatGPT generations did. So now
Mhm.
I always have my brainstorming partner there. And it's a brainstorming partner, but I could really easily take it a step further to a first draft. And that would,
Mhm.
save hours on my essay and potentially produce an essay that's higher quality than what I'm able to create. So there is a fear of writing a bad essay on your own, like having confidence in your own thoughts and your own ideation. So I have hope because of where like the general sentiment is for using AI has like shifted for students where they do want to use it more responsibly. Then for the younger grade levels, it seems more difficult to work with AI because it's so much higher quality than what they
Right.
write.
Yeah. That's so interesting. Yeah. I wonder if they're smart enough to prompt, like, write it like a fourth grader to try to get around that. But I guess, how do you think students should be using AI ideally? I know GPT Zero's philosophy is not that you should never use AI, but that you should use it responsibly. So how do you think about that balance?
Yeah, I think the solution that I'm most excited about is like we should be teaching more reflection on the resources that you're using within your writing process. So like if you do choose to use AI, you should be able to compare what the output is with what you would have written and then reflect on whether that has actually helped you in your thinking process, in your writing process. Those are called like metacognitive assignments, where it's like, okay, let me use all these things, all the tools at my disposal, but then I'm going to process that. But those assignments take longer because it really makes it into a step-by-step process and takes away a little bit from the fluidity of writing and how, like, randomly cyclical it could be. There should be, like,
Mhm.
narrative within each section. Yeah, and then I hear from a lot of teachers that they are okay with using AI as a brainstorming partner. There are a lot of benefits and disadvantages to this, and students have identified both. Like, on one hand, it's pushing you past the ideas and the perspectives that you have. You can kind of move past your biases and look at ideas that you wouldn't have thought of, potentially come up with new ideas from there. On the other hand, like, if you're not feeling confident or creative, you might just read an AI idea and or the AI perspective on the topic and just say, okay, that's like the general right answer. So let me go with that. And so then you'll get a lot of work that has really similar or generic thesis statements or arguments or ideas. And that's that happens also in a classroom without AI, but it is creating this crutch even within the brainstorming process. So I think even with brainstorming should be something that is used, but used really consciously. Yeah, because some students I can see are really, coming up with more ideas, having cooler projects. They're in their work, whereas others are like spending 1 hour on an assignment.
Yeah. Yeah, it is interesting. And then moving into talking about what it's like to scale from 4 to 30-ish people and how you and the team have thought about building the company culture. What did the company, you mentioned how the company felt early on. Like, how would you describe what it feels like now?
Yeah, yeah. So, okay, it started off really small, like group project energy, super um like ad hoc. Okay, I'm learning this, now I'm learning this. Like we just have to put it together. Something that we decided to preserve from that time is like the hacky vibe. So we have a lot of hackathons. That's like a big part of the GPT-Zero culture that we've preserved, which is amazing. But as the company gets bigger, there is a little bit more like organization required, more documentation on designs, a more mature design system, even more like polished Figma files. So that's something that it's like the structure is changing as you have more people.
Hmm.
There are still like values when it comes to like ideation and creating products really quickly in a hacky way that I think we're preserving pretty well. But yeah, also there's like so much to do in the very beginning in terms of fixing problems,
Hmm.
and you just have like a long list, never ending long list of the design problems or the engineering problems like that you have to fix within the product. And now there's a little bit more time for deeper user research and problem discovery, which is pretty exciting.
Hmm.
Because I think like my interests are really like half within user research and discovering like deeper into the intricacies of the problem and like how complex the problem space is. We have a little bit more time, which is nice. And in terms of rituals, my favorite ritual, and I did not start this one, is 5 p.m. exercise time that we have. And it's like this amazing time to just like do something weird with your teammates. Like the exercises are always really intense. And
Is
I'm in
this
the
physical exercise, like a workout?
Yes, it's like a workout because we have some team members that are really well versed in like different types of workouts, which I'm not, except for yoga. But it's really fun. Like sometimes we're doing like kickboxing in the office and we're like kicking,
Oh, wow.
punching. And it's like really nice to get into your body and be like laughing with your teammates. I think like
Mm.
we've been able to maintain this kind of like silly playfulness that really helps when it comes to teamwork and ideation. You want to keep it casual. Like the collaboration should feel like you're working with friends. So exercise time is amazing.
A 1 hour block or like a 15-minute thing?
But it's like a 15-minute thing.
I feel like the work days can be kind of long, so it's nice to be able to break it up with movement.
Yeah, and also like it's when you're sitting all day, like your emotions kind of get stuck a little bit, and when you're moving, your mind also gets unblocked. You might
Hmm.
come up with like a new solution or like have a discussion with your teammate about something.
And then during your time at GPT-Zero, the company not only grew from a team size standpoint, but revenue wise from 0 to 20. Just seeing that growth, like what was a moment where you're like, wow, this is actually much more than the Chrome extension that I signed up for?
Yeah, I think it's when we hit like 5 million users. I was like, this is bigger than the country of Denmark. It was amazing because it's just incredible to know that something you're creating is being used by so many people. There are millions of people using it and you're impacting their day. If you frustrate them, then like that could potentially impact a lot of people. It made it feel really real. and a little bit more like, okay, we have a responsibility to our users. We have a responsibility within education. We have a responsibility um, to like people evaluating and reading text on the internet for this product
Mhm.
to work well. And such a weird thing, but like I remember at that point, like calculating if this many people are using our product in one day, like how many of those people could have died, and this could be, some of their last minutes on the earth, and they're like looking at this and spending their attention with us. And
Hmm.
then it made me appreciate the time that our users are spending with us so much more because, time is precious. And when you're building a product, our users are like using both their money, but also important moments in their lives potentially.
Yeah. Wow, that got a lot deeper than I.
I always
Yeah.
like to zoom out.
Let's go into a lightning round to wrap up. So I'll ask a handful of questions and we'll just speed through them. Are you ready?
Yeah.
What's one belief about startups that you had in college that turned out to be wrong?
I thought they would all be startup bros and that it would be really intimidating, but in reality, it's like I would say more like definitely weirdos a little bit, but
Mhm.
the best kind. Like it's been really fun, and it's not like you can't impact the culture as a woman or as an artist or someone that's like less traditionally like tech bro vibe.
Mhm. Yeah, that's good to hear. And what's one thing you're most excited about for GPT-0 in the next year?
Yeah, we've been doing a push on document review for professional users, and that's a problem space that is new to me. But I've been, like, interviewing professionals, and it's been so cool to learn about different disciplines like law or consulting.
Awesome. And then what's an AI product besides GPT-0 that most inspires you from a design standpoint?
Always have liked Claude because I just feel like it's so bold. Like, they're just they are not trying to make it look like a fancy tech tool, and they steered so far away from Apple's design, which I think so many products have stemmed from, and they went for, like, the sans serif font and the cream color, and we're just trying to make it really human looking, and I think it's gone a little bit out of style now. I think people were doing that more when AI first came out because they wanted their products to feel really human, but Claude was the first to do that, so props to them.
Shout out Claude. And what are three emojis that best describe GPT-0?
We do the eye emoji a lot, like, I've looked
Mm.
at this or, like, I'm considering this, so it's definitely ingrained in my head that it's a GPT-0 thing. I also really like the fairy emoji, and I have that, like, as my emoji for my design files,
Mm.
because I want product design to feel like creating, like, magical experiences for our users and, like, solving their problems like a fairy. And then I idea, like, the
The
light.
light bulb?
Yeah, because of our hacky vibe.
Those are good ones. The fairy is cute. I don't use that emoji very often.
It's really nice. It has, like, green wings.
Love it. And then last question, what is one thing college Olivia wouldn't believe about your life today?
College Olivia would not believe, 1, that I have a cat because I was a dog person, and 2, that I'm living in Canada because I was sure that I was gonna move to Copenhagen, where I did my study abroad. And also that she's, like, working in AI because I was so focused on, like, environmental and problems and sustainability that I kind of, like, stumbled into this AI space accidentally, even though it's really fascinating and, like, all about how humans work, which ultimately I'm most passionate about. But I would not have expected this.
Yeah,
Yeah. Right.
awesome. Well, thank you so much, Olivia. This has been so much fun. And where can listeners find you?
You can find me on Instagram, LinkedIn, I guess. I have a website, but it hasn't been updated in a while, but I wanna update it soon again. Yeah, that is about it
Awesome.
for now, but I am thinking about doing some writing, so
Ooh,
stay tuned.
I shall stay tuned. All right. Well, thank you so much. This has been so fun.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you so much to my friend Olivia from GPT-0 for joining me today. If you liked this conversation, send it to a friend, Hit follow and check out more stories from the early builders shaping the next generation of startups.